So, who would win in a game between the 2017 SEC championship team and the team that won the national championship not that many months ago? Matt DeBerry, Dean Legge, joining you for another edition of Riding Home. Matt, I don't know if we actually talked about this yet or not, but we're going to have our
Yeah.
discussion of this. You got two very different teams, different strengths on both sides. You had a veteran group in both cases, actually. And in many ways, Matt, you could say the 17 team led to the 18 recruiting class, which won the national championship in 21. So, just your kind of strengths of the 17 team as we look at this.
The 17 team started with the veteran leadership they had on defense, right? You obviously had Roquan
Yeah.
Smith and what he did, but you also had Lorenzo Carter, who made big play after big play down the stretch. Davin Bellamy. You just had a lot of guys who just made a lot of plays. At quarterback, it's similar. You've got Jake Fromm as a freshman and Stetson Bennett as this kind of veteran guy who has started his second year at Georgia as the guy. So interesting there, but it's tough for me to think that Jake Fromm, even with Nick Chubb and Sony Michel, could do well against that 2021 defense and that front seven and everything going on. And that would be really, really tough. I definitely think it would be a defensive battle all the way. But I'm thinking which guys on offense on either team is going to make a play on those two defenses.
I sort of forgot about that. I was going to start comparing Jake to Stetson, but that's not really the way to look at that, right? I mean, Jake would have to go up against this 21 defense, and I'm going to tell you right now, I just don't, I don't know about that one.
Yeah, it ain't Oklahoma's defense in 2017 when he played outstanding. You could make the case that his freshman year was his best year, so he was clicking a little bit. But
Was it? I mean, 19 was pretty bad at the end, right? But his 18 was pretty solid. I'll tell you that right now.
Especially against the Gators, but against a quality defense like Georgia's, again, one of the best of all time, you'd really have to use Sony Michel in a lot of different ways. Javon Wims made a lot of plays for him, catching the ball. Maybe he can do that against Darian Kendrick and N'Keal Ringo and those guys. But you both have stud middle linebackers, middle linebackers in the game on both sides. So they are similar in a way.
Yeah, but the 21 defense is probably it had been the 17 defense really did rely on the run in a way that it would be hard to get away with the 21 defense. Let's flip it around though. How would the 21 offense perform against the 17 defense? They'd still have a hard time. I mean, could they run?
Maybe a little bit. The versatility of James Cook would have to be a big deal, and Brock Bowers, I think, would still be the guy. I'm not sure. There are a ton of guys on that 17 defense who match up well with Brock Bowers, but Stetson would probably turn the ball over a couple times, make a couple big plays, but Roquan would be all after him. Ledbetter was going to get in there and make some plays. DeAndre Walker was going to give him some fits. That was a really talented group. But something tells me Nick Chubb and Sony might break a big run or two because, those would clearly be the two best backs that 21 defense had seen all last year. So who knows? Maybe they run the ball a little more than we think. But, yeah, defensive struggle for sure, I'd say.
The interesting thing, too, as we talk about quarterbacks, obviously neither of them are ideal quarterbacks for slicing up a defense. And honestly, the only three quarterbacks who have had success against Georgia lately have been two Heisman finalists or winners, and Kyle Trask. Was he in New York? I'm trying to remember.
No, he had the numbers too. He didn't have the team, but dude was really good.
No, he was good. But I don't think, to me, the 21 team, listen, make sure you're picking up DAWGSTRUCTION. The link is down below. I'm running out of copies. Matt just got a bulk order of them from me, and that's one reason why I'm running out of copies. But I'm running out of copies. Make sure you get this before I have to go to the fourth printing of it, okay? Because the turnaround time takes a little bit longer then. But I just think the 21 team would probably grind the 17 team down a little bit. Brock Bowers is a better tight end. I think Stetson is a better quarterback than freshman Jake Fromm. You want to take a minute to process that, or are you with me on that?
I'm with you. I mean, yeah, Stetson made some bad throws here and there, but he
When
made a
when
lot
no
of
wait
really
a
good
second. Why do
plays.
we
I
why do
mean,
we always do this? Like which bad throws? You talking about in the Alabama game specifically or the Florida game?
yeah, I mean, they weren't a ton because he did take care of the football. So when he does make a bad throw, it
Right.
stands out a little bit more.
What about
But
Jake
the
Fromm?
drop in the
What about Jake Fromm bouncing the ball off of Alabama's player's helmet? I mean, if
yeah,
that doesn't happen, Georgia probably wins the national championship.
and that's probably why I agree with you that it is probably Stetson who I would trust in
Yeah.
this game
Yeah.
scenario. Because again, his play against Michigan, I think people have already kind of
Mm.
forgotten about, but he was terrific.
He really
And he's going
was.
to have some really good games next year too. So I would probably take Stetson in that situation. I would take the 17 running backs, all of
Yeah.
them, including DeAndre Swift, who was
They
still on
did
that
have
team.
better running backs for sure.
Um,
Receivers?
I'd have to, if you include Brock Bowers, which you have to, led the team in receiving, I'd probably give it to the 21 team. I mean, the others, they had Terry Godwin and Mecole. That would be tough to deal with, I think, for the
Yeah.
21 defensive
Yeah. It
backs
would.
with
It
Javon
would.
Wims on the outside. Yeah,
But the thing about it is, 21, and it is kind of apples and oranges. 21
yeah,
never really had to save themselves, if you will. Not the way that you did in 17 with the Notre Dame game. I mean, they should have won. Well, 21, I'm forgetting the Clemson game a little bit there. But it never felt to me like they were going to lose that game. Notre Dame, it felt like Georgia was the better team the whole time, but they only won it right there at the end with the Rodrigo kick and then the strip fumble. Um, I think it was just a better team in 21. There are definitely parts
yeah.
like you'd rather have Roquan than N'Kobe, although I think the D line on 17 doesn't come. That's the thing that separates
Right.
21 and 20 and 17.
Yeah.
And the secondary, I think, in 21 was better, although how much
Yeah.
better? The O line, I think, actually in 17 was better. Am I
I was
wrong?
going to say Isaiah Wynn at left tackle would be
Yeah.
he would hold down Georgia's edge defenders, all of them coming after him more than anyone of that would have last year. Andrew Thomas, freshman at right tackle, not ideal, but he was still really good that
Yeah, he
year.
was.
And they opened up holes for those backs too. They didn't exactly do it in the national championship game, but it was the secondary that was the weakness and was the why they lost that one. Auburn kicked their butt. I'm trying to remember how, whether they did on the ground or through the air. It was a little bit of both. The offense turned the ball over multiple
Right.
times.
Right.
And then Georgia, of course, lost to Alabama in the SEC title again, mainly through the air with Bryce Young kind of
Right.
daggering them. So it's fun to think about, and it's fun to think about how good that 2017 team was because, again, they were an overtime away from winning it. And maybe this conversation is different. Maybe we look
I
at
don't
that
think
team in a
so.
different
I don't think
light.
so, man. I mean, I think as well as Jake Fromm played, both Jake and Stetson played better at the end of the year than they did during the year. I mean, if you think about Fromm's path to the Rose Bowl and having to get them down the field to score a touchdown to tie the game,
Yeah.
that was an epic drive, okay?
Yeah.
But the epic drive for Stetson to win the national championship, they didn't run it at all, right? So, um, specialists, I might take 21 specialists. I don't know. That's a tricky one, too. You got Panesley against Rodrigo and Camarda against Nislyak. They were all four pretty good, frankly.
Yeah, I think 21 was elite, where 17 was really, really good. I'd give obviously Rodrigo the advantage at kicker, but everything else, I mean, Georgia was really good on special teams
I don't
last year.
know that Rodrigo is so much better than Jack Panesley, man. I mean, like, just uh, hear me out just for a second here. Um, Game-winning kick, 50-something yarder in the Peach Bowl. That's a major bowl these days. The 50 whatever yarder was against Alabama, that was a huge kick, man. Rodrigo has kicked for 4 years at Georgia. We know when he missed. I mean, Jack's been at Georgia for 2, and he's not had a really bad miss yet that I can think of. Rodrigo's kick to get them within 14 at the Rose Bowl was huge. But Jack Podnesley, I mean, that kick in the national championship game to get it 9-6, that was monumental at that moment, man. And I don't know. I mean, I think you take Rodrigo, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I think Rodrigo's a little safer. The kick at South Bend
Yes,
and Notre
that was a
Dame,
big
easier kick, about 30 something, but that was as clutch as it got. I mean, they had to have that from
They
him.
had to.
He
They
nailed
weren't
it.
going to win that game without that kick.
And again, both units are very good. Does the coaching staff matter? The assistant coaches on either one, does that come into play at all?
The 21 staff is better to me. I mean, you don't have Sam Pittman, but Matt Luke did
Mel
a pretty
Tucker.
good. You don't have Mel Tucker, but you know, at tight ends, I think Todd Hartley has proven, even though he's not a head coach, and Shane Boomer has become that. I think at Georgia, has been more useful than Shane was at Georgia for his time. You know, at linebacker, you have one guy was the same, one not. Secondary, you know, I think probably was better under Mel, but that's a good question. I think I'll tell you that I think Kirby's a better coach in 2021 than he was in 17. By how much, I don't know. They're just a more mature program. I would take 21. I think it would be something like 20-10, 20-7, 20-13, something like that. I think it'd be really hard for the 17 team to score on them. One team scored 20 points on them or more. That's it.
Yeah. And again, I don't know. Jordan Davis would still be a wrecking ball. Devonta Wyatt would still be a wrecking ball. Julian Rochester gets to play both sides. Really happy for him being able to do that.
He's on both teams.
Well, Stetson wasn't. Stetson came in after that, but Stetson was pretty close, I think.
Stetson was on that 17 team.
That's
you could actually play Stetson in that game
over Jake Fromm. Yeah.
Well, no, what I mean is you'd have to play the 17 Stetson, which is not at all the 21 Stetson. Yeah. And we know from Jake Fromm that things can get worse. But I'm just flipping through the book here. Nobody scored more than 20 on Georgia except Alabama. That's it. Pretty shocking defense.
And again, I think there were like 3 games where the game was over 30 minutes ago, and the opponent got a last-second field goal or touchdown on the last play to even make it look even closer. Missouri, maybe one of the two. Definitely Kentucky.
Carolina and Kentucky. I don't know about Auburn, but yeah, I get your point. So I'm taking 21. Who do you have?
I want to say 17, but I think 21 would win.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, make sure you're checking out DAWGSTRUCTION down below. We'll see you over on the website. Thanks for watching.